everyone, welcome back to the Stitches and Scribbles podcast. My name is Erin, and I've just got a normal catch-up podcast with you today. In case you don't know, I think I've said it in my last couple podcasts at this point, but I alternate between doing a what I'm working on catch-up, just general crafting podcast, and a topic-based one. So this is my catch-up one. Next week you will be seeing another themed one. For me, I'm just going to film them back to back. So you'll see the same outfit again. It has been a really busy couple of weeks. So I don't even know if I've mentioned this officially, but I mentioned definitely in a previous video at some point that I was going to be starting a long-term sub position to cover maternity leave, and that has happened. So it was very exciting. I am now in a 5th grade class for a couple of months, which I was happy that I was so excited about it because I definitely had points in my life where I thought I was never going to teach again after my previous school experience. And I'm glad that I have found a way to reintegrate teaching into my life in a way that works for me and in a way that I feel confident, comfortable, and valued at what I'm doing. So subbing with the school that I sub with has been just a tremendous opportunity. But this is the first time that I have been back in a normal teaching routine for longer than a week. I think prior to this, my longest sub spot was covering a week for a teacher who was on a vacation. So it has definitely been an adjustment. I was really tired the first couple of days just because I wasn't used to being on my feet all day, and I didn't have the recovery time that I usually do. So in the past, if I had, let's say, 2 sub days in a week, I would have the day after to kind of do some more low-key activities or more crafting-based things and kind of take a break from the social aspect of being a teacher. But I don't have that anymore. And I'm surprised that even though I feel physically tired, I don't feel as emotionally tired or overwhelmed as I have in the past. Everything feels very reasonable. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I know what the expectations are. I know where to find everything for the most part. I know how to plan lessons, which is another thing I'm not used to. Planning lessons for the first time in 2.5 years, I think. I left my previous teaching job in spring of 2021. So yeah, I guess 2.5 years. But I've actually been really enjoying it, and I also have never had a teaching position outside of student teaching and stuff like that where I was planning multiple subjects. So that has also been a new thing. When I was a full-time teacher before, I taught middle school science, so I only taught science, and I repeated some of my lessons throughout the day because I'd see multiple sections of the same grade. So it's been just kind of a really cool experience to get back into that in a way that feels really positive. So I'm really happy with it. I do realize that means my crafty stuff is not going to look the same moving forward, and I'm kind of okay with that. That was part of why I started this pattern of alternating between a catch-up pod and a topic podcast, because I knew I wouldn't be making as much progress on projects as I do without long-term subbing. So I'm glad that I had already established that routine by the time that I had to start subbing, because it made the transition a lot easier. But yeah, that's kind of my life updates for this podcast. It's just been kind of a crazy whirlwind. I also started right before Halloween, so I got the Halloween party in there. And yeah, I don't think we've had any other big events so far, but I'll definitely have Thanksgiving break. I'll have the class Christmas party and kind of all that stuff, but I am really excited for it. I also was really surprised at how much I like planning reading and writing. And I like reading and writing as hobbies, but I was surprised at how much I like teaching it, especially now that I've like kind of got my bearings and know what I'm doing a little bit more. But that was kind of a surprise that that's now like, I think, one of my favorite things to teach. I also just like seeing what the kids are writing. It's always interesting to me to see what their process looks like and the stories that they come up with or the things that they're passionate about writing about. But yeah, I'll pause the teacher talk and get back into the crafting things because I know that's what most of you are here for. So, crafting. That has also felt a little bit all over the place because I have so many whips started, and there's really only one right now that I'm thinking of as high priority, and one that's kind of like I need to finish it before Vlogmas starts, but it's not as high priority as the other one. So I'll start with those two, and of course I put them the farthest away from me. But the first one is a rectangular shawl, and this is the Stitch Sampler shawl. If I remember, I'll link it. If I forget, bug me in the comments. This is actually the front of it. But I'm using a variegated yarn from Hobby Lobby. I don't think they have this colorway anymore. This probably was not the best pattern to show off this yarn, but I am having fun doing it, and I think it'll be a really nice piece when it is done. I do have 3 skeins of this yarn. I've got like probably a third left of the first one and another full 2. So this project has to be done for a wedding I'm going to, which I'm now looking at the date and remembering that that wedding is not this weekend but next weekend, so I really have to get going on that project. But I started it because I thought it would be a good transitional piece from like fall to winter with the like bold jewel tones, but it still has that like mustardy yellow in there that works really well with fall things. And since this is a November wedding, I thought it would be appropriate, and I didn't really have another shawl that felt like dressy enough for a wedding that was still in that like kind of fall-ish color palette. I also realized it's really hard to find fall and winter wedding attendee dresses. I did decide that I wanted to treat myself to a new one because I didn't have anything like, again, super fall looking in terms of formals. A lot of my formal dresses are very like spring summer, or they're very like Christmassy, or they're old concert clothes from high school and college where, well, I guess not high school. In high school we could wear just dressy clothes, but whatever we wanted. But in college it was definitely all black. So, and wearing all black to a wedding is generally ill-advised. So I found myself kind of in a conundrum where I wanted to find a dress specifically that matched this variegated yarn. So I ended up finding one that's the mustard yellow color, and I still went with one that was sleeveless because I figured that would make it wearable over the summer, which is probably when I'd wear it again. But the color keeps it kind of fall looking. That was a really long explanation as to why I'm doing this, but that is the situation that we have. So I really need to finish that project soon. There was one other yarn I have that I thought would go with the dress that I picked. It's actually up behind me right there. It's the like olive green and yellow ombre. I realized I haven't actually held this yarn up to the dress yet, and I should probably do that and double check that it matches, because if it doesn't, I'll jump in with the other one. But that also feels like it's cutting it really, really close in terms of knitting, especially because I am working full time. So that would probably be not a good choice in terms of things to do. But that's, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. If we come to it, who knows at this point. The other project that is kind of like sort of on my list of things to finish is my Barbie socks. So I'm on the second one. I'm about 30 rounds away from where I would start the toes on the second sock. The toe on the second sock. So I'm making pretty fast progress on this. I did dedicate some time to it over the weekend. This was my stitch marker from where I left off last time. So I got through the heel and a big chunk of the leg and the foot. I finished the heel gusset And these, it's not like I'm planning on wearing neon socks for Christmas or anything like that, but I want the needles for during Vlogmas so that I can cast on some Christmas socks. So those are my next priority project. I'm like staring at this shawl now and wondering if it's a good idea to attempt to finish this or not, because suddenly that deadline seems very, very close. But also, like, I bought the dress to go with the yarn, so I feel like I have to finish it. This is just all kinds of chaos going on over here. I do have a couple of other projects that are in progress, as well as some other things to show you. Let's do finished objects first, because we just have no order for today's podcast. It's just rambling with Erin. But these are my two most recent finished objects. They are both twisted headbands. One is knit and garter stitch and one is single crochet. So these will both be tutorials on my channel. By the time you're seeing this podcast, the knit one will have already been released and the crochet one will be coming out this coming Friday from when you're watching this. I have had a lot of requests lately for really simple beginner projects. And I was talking about beginner projects in general with my craft group that I meet with once a month. And a lot of them were talking about how everyone suggests that, like, you should do a scarf as your first project. But a scarf is secretly a really daunting project just because of how big they are and how obvious it is if you have wonky stitches that have, like, increased and decreased your row count. So some of them were talking about, like, oh, it'd be so much better to do, like, headbands as a beginner project because they're small. It's not as, like, detrimental to completely start over because it's such a little project. And even as a beginner, you could definitely, like, knock it out in an afternoon or a weekend. So that's what I decided to do as kind of my first experiment into doing, like, super beginner tutorials. But I would really like to do some more of those. So if you have other, like, suggestions for beginner objects, I'd love to incorporate them into future videos. But I have noticed that, like, my tutorials are definitely the things on my channel that get the most traction. Even though I love doing vlogs because I can show you, like, what I'm working on more in depth or, like, review the pattern. I'm thinking that more tutorials, but, like, manageable tutorials is kind of a direction I'm interested in taking moving forward. I don't think I'll get to the point where I'm, like, 100% tutorials for my channel because that's just not how I operate. But it might be something that gets put into the mix a little bit more than it has been recently. So those also the sneak preview to the next two videos that are coming out. So, and I think that's it for finished objects. I really haven't been finishing that many things recently. I think because a lot of the projects I'm starting are big projects, with the exception of the socks, which, like, are a small project. I just let them sit for forever and then suddenly was interested in sock knitting again when I have other things to finish. Most of them are pretty large projects, so that is also partially why things are taking longer. You'll probably see more updates with the same projects, which leads me to my next couple of things. So my project in this bag is my scarf with yarn that I got from the Wisconsin Sheep and Wool Festival. This was Lord of the Rings themed yarn, and the colorway is called Bag End. For some reason, my light makes it look a lot more gray than it actually is. It's shades of, like, teal, forest green, red, burgundy, brown, and, like, mustard yellow. So the teal, at least on my screen, is showing up kind of gray looking, but it is, like, teal and green, not gray. This has become my knitting and reading project. So for those of you who don't know, I can knit and read at the same time if the knitting pattern is simple enough. So, like, this is just stockinette stitch in the round. And if I'm reading on a tablet or a screen. And the reason for that is because I don't have to physically hold the book open while I'm working. So this has become my reading project. This little stitch marker is where I was I think starting Friday I moved this marker because I knew I hadn't moved it since the last podcast catch-up episode. And this is how much I got done while reading. I think I got through like 2/3 of a book that I just checked out. It does make books go a little bit faster too, because I don't feel as like bogged down by the heaviness of reading because I'm also doing something with my hands. And those two tasks just seem to work well together for me. So this is just, I only work on it while I'm reading, and I'll probably keep it that way. It also might be a like travel project if I get to that point. And this year, I don't even know the last time we switched, but usually, like more often than not for holidays, we go to my husband's family in St. Louis for Thanksgiving and maybe for New Year's, and we stay with my family here in Wisconsin for Christmas. And we decided to flip-flop it this year, which I don't think we've done since maybe it was Christmas of 2020. Or no, what would that have been? Yeah, Christmas of 2021 would have been no. I can't do year math. Christmas of 2020 was definitely the last time that we were there because it was COVID Christmas. I was doing the thing of like forgetting that Christmas was still is in December, not January. That probably made absolutely no sense and sounds bonkers, but I think we went for Christmas of 2020. Maybe it was Christmas of 2021 because most things were still closed. We couldn't do a big family gathering. So this will be the first time that I am going to his side of the family for Christmas when all of the like normal Christmas gatherings are in place. So I'm really excited to see that and see how his side of the family celebrates Christmas and like how people host events and stuff like that. But this might end up being my car project if I'm not done with it by then, because this is also the type of project that is easy for me to work on in the car because I do get motion sickness eventually, especially if I'm looking at something the whole car trip. So having a project that I don't need to like be looking at it constantly really helps. It also just gives me something to do in the car that's not just like listening to music or whatever. Usually we do a lot of podcasts in the car. We have been listening to Normal Gossip the last couple of long car trips down to Missouri, which is very entertaining if you haven't listened to it already. Sometimes we do true crime podcasts, but those can get a little heavy if you listen to them like back to back to back to back to back. So I don't know what we're going to do this time. We do have some new Normal Gossip episodes to go through that my husband hasn't listened to, but I also kind of want to do a Taylor Swift listen through with him because he is a Taylor Swift fan, but he was a Taylor Swift fan for like the first couple albums of hers that came out. So I think he said that Red is the first album that he didn't like fully listen to all the way through or like never had his own copy of it. But the first 3 albums for sure, he had them all, listened to them all, like knows most of the words to the songs. And I'm more like the later half of Taylor Swift is my favorite albums. So we definitely have like opposite listening preferences in terms of Taylor Swift. But that's also kind of why I want to do a listen through, because I think that'd be really funny to like talk about each other's opinions through all the albums, but also that seems like a lot to listen to every single Taylor Swift album in the car there and back from Missouri. I don't even know if we'd have enough time, to be honest, because I know that like the Red Taylor's version album is like 2 hours by itself. So I don't know if we'd have enough time to listen to every single one, but we could definitely put a dent in the list. So that might have to be what we do this year. That seems a lot more upbeat going down for Christmas than listening to true crime podcasts. So I'll have to report back and see what we end up doing. I have 2 more whips. One of them, I think I had just started the last time I did an update podcast. And this is my mosaic cardigan that I'm working on. background for this. I just finished the Winter's Beach cardigan by Andrea Mowry. It was the sweater that I wore to the Taylor Swift Eras movie because it reminded me of the Folklore cardigan. I took that pattern and instead of doing the cable pattern, I subbed in a mosaic colorwork pattern. So you can see right now, this looks like the sweater's going to be blue and orange, but it's made with 2 yarn cakes that are actually the same. They just start at different points. So it'll color shift through all of these colors, and the other skein will be doing different colors at different times. So this was also a project I was really having fun working on, and I kind of had to tear myself away from it to work on other things because I just really love the mosaic process. It feels very like meditative, and I was really having a lot of fun working on it, which is why I got this far so fast. And I know it doesn't look like I got very far, but there's a lot of stitches on this thing. So I really wanted to get back into working on this, but I need to finish that shawl first. And it does look a little wonky at the moment because I haven't blocked it yet, obviously. But I'm very excited for this to be done. I might be doing this in other colors if I continue to love the process as much as it continues. But I just really have fallen in love with mosaic knitting. And I haven't done a mosaic knit project in a while, although my Barbie socks are mosaic knit just at the top of the cuff. But I really need to work more mosaic projects into my cycle of what I work on because I really, really like them. The other project I have, and is actually the last project I'm going to show you, is another cardigan that I casted on. This looks like absolutely nothing right now, but the pattern is just called cable cardigan or cable sweater or something like that. And I'm doing it in this burgundy yarn, but that might also be a Vlogmas project. I just wanted to get like a couple rows in on it and get it started because I know I'm not going to finish a whole cardigan during Vlogmas along with all the other stuff that I want to do. So I made sure to cast that on so that I could sort of be making progress on it in the background. But I won't be heartbroken if I don't finish it before Christmas. And at this point, like, I'm definitely not going to finish it before Christmas. There's just too many other things to do, and especially with teaching and all the stuff that goes into, like, well, teaching, first of all, but also Vlogmas. And I'm still thinking it's a little insane that I'm going to try to do both of those things. But I'm also really excited about it, so I feel like that means I should do it. I'm just going to have to keep it, like, manageable and kind of low-key this year. But that's okay. I feel like I just have to keep telling myself that everything's going to be fine. I can adjust things as I go. But I still haven't, like, hit that overwhelmed point. I've been physically tired, but not, like, emotionally, mentally tired. So that part has been nice. The last thing I have to show you is a haul. And I forgot that those were in there. I guess I can show that too. This is a yarn haul because I have a project I want to make for one of the bedrooms in our house. We have one room set up kind of as a kid's room, although obviously there are no kids living there right now. But we figure, like, in the meantime, if we have anybody stay over or if we're at the point where we are ready to have kids, like, that'll be the kids' room. But we've kind of themed it as, like, small woodland creatures. Seems to be the generic air of that bedroom. So we have some books in there that are Winnie the Pooh, Peter Rabbit. We have a Kermit the Frog book, and I really want to get a copy of Frog and Toad to put in there. I still have not found said copy of Frog and Toad, but I did find a crochet pattern that I wanted to do. And it was for a Frog and Toad amigurumi set. So I went ahead and bought the yarn for it. I think that also will be a November project if I can squeeze it in. It might actually end up being a vlog. But I got some yarn for it. So the first one I got does not match the others because the rest of the yarn line that I picked did not have a white. So I just grabbed some Lion Brand Basic Stitch in white because it's such a small part of the project, and the yarn weight matched the yarn I did pick. All of the other ones I chose are from the Lion Brand Respun line. So I got this color, which is, it is brown, but in some lights it looks purple, and it's called Hazelwood. This, I believe, is going to be a pair of pants for either Frog or Toad. I have this nice deep green. This one's called Alpine. This is going to be the color for Frog. I have this kind of brown called Cider. This is Toad's body color. And then I have this kind of golden yellow in the color Corn Silk. This is, I think, a cardigan for Frog. That might be it. It might just be Frog's cardigan. One of them is wearing trousers and a sweater, and the other one is wearing like striped overalls, but I can't remember which is which. I think Frog is wearing the cardigan and the trousers, and Toad is wearing the like green and white striped outfit. So his outfit is going to be Frog's color for the green stripes and white for the other stripes. That was a fun explanation. The other two things I got that I forgot were in this bag, but they're making noise, so I feel like I have to talk about it now. I went through the ornament section at Target, and I picked out two, a very reasonable number. Ironically, neither of them I think are going on the Christmas tree. They were just fun. The first one I got, which is the one that you can hear, are these little bells. These are probably going to go in my kitchen because we have a lot of copper things in there. And the other one I got might go in that same green bedroom, or it'll go down here. It is this little terrarium ornament with a bunny and a Christmas tree and some little mushrooms, because I will take any and all things that have mushrooms on them. Those are quickly becoming my entire personality, as is Taylor Swift, but that's a separate concept. And yeah, I have too many plans for the amount of time I have to do all of these things in the end of 2023, which doesn't feel like it should be coming to an end yet, but I'm excited for all the things that are coming forward. But I think that's going to have to be it for this podcast because I have run out of objects to show you, sadly. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw today and tolerated all of my ramblings, make sure that you hit the subscribe button down below so that you can be notified of all of my crafty content here on YouTube. I do podcasts, as you can tell, but also tutorials, vlogs, whatever I feel like doing is what happens here on YouTube. And if you would like to follow me on other forms of social media, that information will be in the description box below as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.